Hey, welcome back to the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
Right.
Today we continue our series, The Foundation. And we are going to be talking about loyalty, respect, and integrity within a marriage.
Ooh, that's deep.
Establishing the marriage code. You heard about the bro code, the girl code. There needs to be a marriage code.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about that today. So hope you guys enjoy the episode. Let's go. What's up, everyone? I'm Michael.
And I'm Javon.
And together we are the
branches.
After going through an extremely difficult time in our marriage, well, difficult is an understatement,
Facts, this is true.
to now experience a renewed, restored, and rebuilt marriage by the grace of God, we want to share with others the lessons we've learned along the way.
The life experiences that shook us to our core ultimately brought us closer because we chose to surrender and put God first.
Join us as we get real and raw, talking about relationships and sharing our greatest lesson, that when you show up in faith, God will show out. If you're ready to jump on this healing journey with us, buckle up.
Let's go.
I feel like everything I've been wanting and waiting for, and every day I'm wanting more. Even though we had a minor slip-ups, we're never ever giving up. Got the modern gene, the kind of love, friendship that comes from above. And my friends ask me how I know that you are the one. I know you're the one. I know you're the one.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yo. What's good, fam?
So today we are going to be talking about, going into part 3 of our series, The Foundation. And today we're talking about loyalty, respect, and integrity, establishing a marriage code. And we feel like these 3 traits are huge. They all go together, and they are part of the cornerstone and or another brick, if you will, of the foundation of a marriage. So I feel like those are some pretty heavy hitters, personally.
They are. Because you need that loyalty, you need that respect, and you definitely need that integrity.
Yeah, totally. And I think that, oftentimes those 3 things are misunderstood and forgotten and or misused in marriages and committed relationships. I think that we look at those things for our friendships and we respect them more in friendships than we do in a marriage.
Relationship,
yeah,
which is true.
And so before we get started, you know me. What's the time? Definition time.
Oh, yes.
So loyalty. All right. In the dictionary, it says it's a noun, and it says a strong feeling of support or allegiance. But then I also found, just in a Google search, another definition that kind of breaks it down.
Glossary.
That breaks it down a little bit more, and it says loyalty is faithfulness, not just avoiding temptation, but that too, but being faithful in all of your promises, keeping your word, following through on your plans, and sticking with your partner till the end. Loyalty is steadfastness, knowing you can rely on each other, which is very deep. So respect, it also is a noun.
Right.
A feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Okay. And then I also Google searched that bad boy, and I found respect means that you recognize that your partner is a whole person and not just a way to get something that you want. It means that you know your partner has different experiences and opinions than you, and that's okay.
I mean, a whole person.
Whole person.
Not some of these things that the youngest out here using now, a snack. Ain't no person no snack. I know what they talking about,
Right.
but nah, bro.
But a whole person, meaning they're an individual. They're just not your spouse. They're just not your boyfriend, girlfriend.
Right.
They are a whole person in and of
They're a
themselves.
human being.
Exactly. So that was a Google search. And then integrity, also a noun. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. Now, I did not Google search this one because I remember I heard, and I don't know where I heard this, but I remember someone saying that their definition of integrity is doing what's right even when no one is around.
Yeah.
That has
true.
stuck with me.
That's true.
And it's so simple, but it's so deep because, doing that.
It shows I think it shows your heart.
It does.
It really does.
And your intention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So let's get into it. So those are our definitions broken down. The dictionary, which honestly, the dictionary is kind of lame because they don't really give you very much. You know what I mean?
I mean, they just give you a broad.
They just give you a little snippet.
definition.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because there's so many scenarios that go into so many definitions that are.
I'm mad you breaking down the dictionaries, people.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's just factual. That's all that is. I mean,
but I love having those additional, more expansive definitions that I was able to pull up. So let's get into what are your personal thoughts, my love, about loyalty and respect. I've heard a lot of people say that loyalty and respect go hand in hand, or that they're the same thing. What are your thoughts?
You can't have one without the other.
That's
just how I see it.
Very true.
They do go hand in hand, but they go hand in hand in so many different ways. I mean, ultimately, you need to respect the person that you're looking at every day anyway.
Right.
Because you want them to respect you.
Right.
And I think that respect starts from day one from meeting. You got to ask yourself, hey, am I going to respect this other person across me enough to be upfront with them? Nobody's saying divulge all of your information of your life, but be truthful about the things that you present in a conversation when you're meeting someone.
Right.
And you're starting to talk to someone. So that's where it really starts, i.e. going back to what we went talking about on our last show about communication.
Yeah.
So, that's very important. Loyalty.
Do you think you have to have respect before you have loyalty? I know they go hand in hand, but which one comes first in your mind?
I think at the end of the day, you can't get to loyalty without having respect.
Ding, ding, ding. My thoughts too.
I think the respect is the one that comes in first, because you can't have loyalty for somebody without knowing them to respect them anyway.
Exactly.
So you're not gonna have the loyalty for them,
right?
The loyalty comes later on. Mm-hmm. The respect is what comes first.
Mm-hmm.
That's just all to it. Now, far as integrity, that can come at any point.
You come into the relationship with integrity. That's on you, right?
So that can come at any point. But we sticking with respect and loyalty.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I feel.
And so how do you look at those two in terms of being important in a relationship? Like, why and or how are they so important in a relationship, in a committed relationship?
I mean, they're important because it really solidifies exactly how your relationship is going to go. Mm-hmm. The respect factor is very, very huge, because if you have enough respect for your significant other, and you have enough respect for yourself,
true. Ultimately,
you're going to look at yourself and say, look, I want them to treat me the way that I'm treating them.
Right.
So I'm going to respect you every day because you're my wife, but I also want you to respect me. Mm-hmm. Even though we're in a relationship, it doesn't mean that we can sit there and try to conquer one another, because that's not what it's about.
Right.
I'm going to respect you and your boundaries. You're going to respect me and my boundaries. Now, in a marriage, there really are no boundaries. Now you all of course need some time to breathe, because everybody can't be up on each other 24/7.
Right.
I mean, although I love being up on you 24/7, it's just that we still need to have our moments, because that's how you balance a relationship. You have to have some time, like even if it's going to work, that's your time of not being around the person, because at the end of the day, I feel like when you're not around that person, you should constantly be. You need to basically give yourself time to miss that person. Right. And so having those moments of space, it gives you that time to miss them, but build on everything. But back to what I'm saying. The respect is all day, every day, in everything you do. Right. From what you say to how you act.
What you think.
To what you think. Thoughts, yeah. So the respect is bigger. The loyalty will come. Because if you already respecting them and doing the things that you should do to respect them and show the respect, and that longevity presents itself where it's been years and years of you doing it, you basically float into the loyalty anyway.
Yeah.
Because you constantly have that person back.
Right.
No matter what the situation is. But loyalty also is a fine line, because you have to understand whether, okay, when you should be given to that loyalty to that person, especially if they're in a situation where they know they did something wrong.
Right.
Do you really need to be loyal to them
Right.
when they're wrong?
Right.
Or are you going to be a friend?
Right.
Or, or are you going to show respect? Me personally, if you're my friend and you messed up and straight up and you want something real from me, I'm going to be respectful enough to tell you.
Yeah.
And loyal.
Right.
Because you're my friend.
Right.
So that goes
Right.
hand in hand.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Because I have the respect for you, I'm going to be loyal and be truthful. That's just what it is.
I totally agree with pretty much everything you said. And I think for me, respect and loyalty and a marriage and a relationship, it's so important because it's actually like, I feel like they're guidelines, right? So like we're talking about, respect and loyalty. That also is a huge builder for trust. Ooh, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you are respecting your significant other and everything that you're doing, then that means you're taking a pause and you're thinking about your actions before you do them,
right.
before you get out of line, right. before you break trust. And that could be with anything. You know what I mean? I think it's always, if you're always on that respect and loyalty kick in your head, then it makes for a more straight line in your marriage opposed to being all over the place. And I honestly think that sometimes we give our friends more respect and loyalty than we do our own partner.
True.
And I really don't even know how that disconnect comes. I think that with your friend, you look at them as an individual. You look at them as, okay, you're over here. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to be loyal to you. I'm going to ride or die, blah, blah, blah. But then when you're looking at your relationship, there is somewhat of a disconnect where you expect them to do everything that you want them to do. And that individualism of, like it said, seeing someone as a whole person gets lost.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that you... If you end up treating your friend better than you treat the person that you're actually in a relationship with, then you got to ask yourself, who am I in a relationship with more? My friend or the person I'm with?
Amen.
I mean,
yes.
Your friend should have enough respect for you that whomever you with, they should understand that this person is the person I'm choosing. Like, you're my... In a marriage, let me put it this way. In a marriage... Mm-hmm. Who you're married to is who you choose first,
right?
Regardless of your friend who you had for so many years,
right?
What's the purpose of getting married to this person if you're not going to love them enough and respect them enough to put them first,
right?
Because in God's eyes, it should be God, yourself, and then the person
your
you're
spouse,
with.
Right? Exactly.
That's just that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some people just get caught up in giving the friends more respect.
So why do you think that is? And do you think that, okay, here's a really, really good question. Do you think that men do you think that men give their friends more respect than their wives over women giving their friends more respect over their husband?
I think it depends on the person individually. Because of the simple fact that you have, and I apologize about the cars.
Do you hear this ridiculousness?
This is Arizona.
Welcome to Arizona.
Yes, I mean, you hear stuff like that all day, every day. So I'm used to it. My wife still, of course, has to take some time to get used to it. And again, that's probably because I ride a bike. So
yeah.
But
you were saying, and you think that it depends on the person if a man or woman gives their friends more respect over their spouse.
It's a very thin line because a lot of people get caught up in trying to balance their old life with their new life. Meaning, if you're starting to commit to someone else and or you're married to them, you still want to go hang out with your friends,
right?
Girls and dudes. You can do that, but don't get to the point that you hanging out with them more like you not married,
right?
Or you're in a relationship where you spending more time with that friend.
But see, that's where I think that's where I think I'm a disagree.
You can,
because I really feel like when men get in a relationship, when men get whipped, if you will, that whip appeal baby face back in the day.
Too, so
I'm saying, but when men get whipped, their boys don't really support that all the time. Their boys, a lot of the times, they clown them.
But
they
you know
make
why?
It seem like, oh, well, why are you always with your girl? Why can't you be with me? And women don't do that.
This is the thing. There's so many scenarios. For one, guys are guys. When we got our bond and we always hanging out together and we grew up together, it's like, it's like you taking a part of them.
Right.
But,
okay.
That's one thing. But also too, I think guys they get caught up in, they start seeing their boy change. And so
we talking about crabs in a bucket right now? Meaning
that's what it is.
The guy's going out there doing his thing, getting that love, getting that person, and they're
sometimes,
nope, I don't got that, so I pull them back in.
But instead of having that support from your boy or your girl, that then women are different, because I think women
support that.
Yeah, they do. They do, because they always want to see. And men support it too. It's just that's just what we do. We gonna clown you, but it's all love. Especially if we see ultimately that, this woman is really, that we see that you're happy, and we see that the change in you is a good change.
I think that's true, but I think that takes time.
It does.
And the guys,
it does.
Little
it
click.
Does. But
whereas for women support women falling in love and meeting that man, and if he's treating her right, we're like, yes, go girl. We
do the same. We just do it in a different way.
It takes time for y'all.
It takes time for some. It takes time for some guys, and some guys it don't. Again, it depends on each individual.
I know, but I'm just saying, for what I have experienced and what I've seen, and just out there in the world, it just seems like for men, when their boys find someone and they start spending more time with that person, they're not as supportive in the beginning. They do a lot of stuff that really gets that guy in trouble. Like, come on, we're going to play ball. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
But it also depends on the group of
this is true.
Group of friends that you're with. Now, you could have these friends who always trying to, let's hang out at the club. Let's see how many shorties I'm going to get here and there. Or you can have those guys who also hang out at the club. Man, I'm trying to find something that I can wife up for real. You know, and their mentality is not to go for this woman, that woman, that third. Their mentality is let's see what's out there. You know, I'm in the dating world. Let's see, and I got this figure out what's going on. So sometimes you need that guy's support to help you figure out what's right, because just like women, men, we look. And we can say, like, maybe she not the best for you. I don't know about that, bro. Like, the way you acting and that, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing.
Right.
It depends on how it goes. So.
And that definitely is, and women do the same thing. And I just think that, your friend circle is very important.
It is.
And it really can buoy you up in a relationship or tear you down.
Right.
And I've seen many friend groups, especially with men, where the guys are still single. That one guy finds a girl, gets married, and still has all the single friends. And the single friends don't necessarily, and here's our word, respect that man's marriage and his covenants with his wife. And they're still trying to get him to go out doing single men stuff.
Right.
And to me, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But you know what? This is where the respect comes in, because if that man has enough respect for his wife, he can check his boy. Right. Period.
Right.
That's just
and I don't think a lot of men know how to do that at first.
I think they know how to do it. They just don't want to get into the conversation of really having to do that. And so that's where the integrity comes in.
So are you saying they're afraid to get into it with their boys out of,
not afraid, but I mean,
they just don't want to have to deal.
You don't
want
to have that conversation when you trying to, vibe and do this and do that. Like, I mean, sometimes you'll say something small, but you won't get into nothing big unless you have to. You just don't.
And see, that's where I think sometimes
women talk things out more than men.
We definitely do.
I mean, now, no, hold on. Let me take that back. Now, men do talk things out. It's just now I think nowadays you have more men talking versus before, or should I say, you more like we have more social media to see more men talking versus what we did before.
That's a good.
There probably was a lot of men talking then, but you just never could see it or hear it because of just social media. But nowadays you can.
Yeah, and I think that women do and are able to check they girls real quick, opposed to how men are faced with, man, I don't want to get into it with him, blah, blah, blah. But I think that that little bit of leeway that sometimes men feel they have to give kind of puts them in a bad situation, because then when they do have to say it, it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or or their friends could take it as, well, why didn't you say something in the beginning?
I think what the problem is sometimes is that, men, we lean on our boys for resolution to give us answers to certain things, and we're talking to the wrong people. Don't talk to your boy about your relationship. Talk to the person you're in a relationship with.
Right, true that.
Because even though your boy is your best friend and been around you, of course his thing is like, I've been around you my whole life, so she just came in.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
If she giving you this problems, bro, then kick rock.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes some men, they in a sense, they don't even realize it, but they kind of let their group of friends choose who they should be with.
Yeah, you're right.
Instead of choosing that person themselves.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you choose the person yourself, that you're the one making that decision.
Right.
So you're gonna already know that at the end of the day, if I'm choosing to make these choices myself and not depending on my boys, then I'm the person that's going to make the best choices when it comes to this relationship. Not depending on my boys to help me out. And if they saying this and that and the third, I'm gonna let them know. A lot of other times too, you have men that they have a group of friends, and their boys might be clowning them, and they just don't say nothing to them, but they still do what they got to do, even though. But their boys eventually come along like, well, dang, bro, we gonna call such and such up, man, see if he can go out. But man, he ain't going nowhere. You know how he is with that shorty, man. That ain't gonna happen. That's just what it is.
Right.
But you say that, you respect that, and you move on.
Keep it moving. Yeah.
You don't sit there and we might clown each other.
Right.
But I think sometimes it's a good clowning. Like, we don't mean no harm by it, unless we just know that this other person just got you going and you're completely a different person that we ain't never seen before. Now with men, we're gonna call you out like, bro, you changing for some skirt? Like what? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, we supposed to be your boys. We was here before her. We gonna be here after.
That change is a good change, because you actually dealt with that yourself. Like, when we were together, you did a lot of changing in the beginning, and people looked at you like, what the heck? Not only your boys, but your family. Like, your family saw you changing, and that was an issue, and which is a good segue into family also can be put in that whole, that whole realm of not respecting your significant other, not respecting your relationship.
My problem with that with my family was, and even to this day, some of them still don't get it. It wasn't about, they made it about them and what they wanted for me. And they felt like you weren't, and we talk about you, or friends, they felt like, oh, this is not the type of female he should be dating. But what they didn't know in the long run is that if you clearly knew the type of females I would date, I had some ratchet ones. But overall, any woman that I love to date, she had to be very smart and intelligent, whether she was hood or not hood. She had to be very smart and intelligent. That was big to me.
Right.
That was like the ultimate attraction to me. You have to be very smart and intelligent.
Right.
And there's different levels of smart and intelligent, but I don't need to go into that. I know what I needed. So that's that. And I got that. So, but they, I was so committed to my family and doing everything for my family and my friends and just dropping everything for them.
Yeah.
they felt like they had say so on who I should and should not be with.
Right.
And because I think they felt like that I wasn't capable of being with any woman that was like smarter than me, or, you know, to another level. They wanted me to be with somebody who was like me every day, struggling or grounded in the hood, and I ain't want that. I wanted someone who was gonna uplift me and pull me out of situations, gonna help me be the best that I can be.
Right.
I've always wanted that. And my family didn't see that when I met you. They didn't see the smart, beautiful woman that I see in you, the intelligent. They did, but what it was for them is that I think that they were kind of like, oh my gosh, that's just too much for him to handle. You know, she's not right for you, you know, because you didn't talk the way I talk. You didn't dress the way I dress.
True.
Even though you were a black woman, they didn't see that.
Yeah.
They saw that, oh, you're from this world, she's from that world.
Yeah.
She's from the suburban, you're from the hood. That ain't gonna mix. That just don't mix.
Yeah.
But what they failed to realize was that at the end of the day, there was something deeper going on with me and you that they didn't see.
Right. Totally.
And I chose to make the choice to be with you, even with them still being in my ear, nagging and me trying to, you know, say this and say. And then now where I went wrong was in the beginning, I didn't address my family.
Right.
That was my fault.
Right. Yeah.
Had I checked them in the beginning, it would have been different. But because I was so comfortable with my family and their opinions and what they felt, and I always relied on them for each and everything because I was, you know, close at the moment that I was with them, around them. That's what it was. But that don't ride.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I think that when you get into a serious relationship and then marriage, I think sometimes your friends and your family, and I think sometimes family more so than your friends, don't give you that. Your boundaries are not set. And so the respect is not given where it should be given. And sometimes, like you said, we feel like, I don't want to check them, they're my family, I'm this and that, and we go too long without saying, look, this is what the deal is, and so this is what I expect from you, and this is how how the stage is going to be set from here going forward.
And what ultimately ends up happening is that that relationship becomes crazy. Right. Or you may lose someone that could have been really good for you because you're making a choice based on other people.
Right. Exactly.
But you need to make that choice yourself. It's not about what they feel or what they think. Mm-hmm. You know, when in the beginning, you may rely on them just for a safety net. And I get that because you're going into something new and you don't know this person. Mm-hmm. We all are scared about that. But again, you have to have some type of I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. You just basically have to jump out there. Yeah. Like take a leap of faith. Right. That's all you can do. And trust me, if you're having the right communication and talking about the right things, you'll know exactly whether you should give more of yourself or less of yourself. Mm-hmm. Whether you should move forward with more dates or not with more dates. Whether you know, if for some reason that the dates panned out and everything's been good, you'll know eventually whether you decide whether, hey, this person is someone I can see myself with or not. But you can't let your family or your friends dictate who you should and should not be with, because that's not going to work. And
when you are already in a marriage or committed relationship, you need to, like you said earlier, the first person that you're giving that respect and loyalty to is your spouse, is your significant other. And your family becomes, like, literally that person becomes your immediate family. Right. And then your family, moms, brothers, dads, sisters, etc., become your extended family. They're the outside
and we're talking
perimeter.
About, like, you know, once you've been in a relationship for a while. Nothing in the beginning. But
serious relationship, committed relationships, and of course marriages, it's like that your inner circle becomes you, your spouse, and your children when you start to have kids, and then that next circle out is your family. Your mom, dad, sisters, brothers, etc.
And at the end of the day, your family needs to have enough respect for you
True.
to understand that you know how to go out here and make the necessary decisions that make things right for you, as far as who you choose to be with. And they should be understanding and know that at the end of the day, like, hey, if there's something I need to come back to you guys and ask, I will.
Right.
But trust me enough to know that I got this.
Right.
You know?
And if they don't like who you're with, you know, it needs to be said up front, I respect your opinion, but you're going to respect my partner. Exactly. You're going to respect my significant other, my wife, my husband. So don't come in this like you don't know that, because you will get checked.
I've had, you know, we've been married coming up on 15 years.
Yeah, next month.
And I can say probably half of I think I just feel like my family never respected you until, heck, they didn't respect you until they saw the pain you went through.
I agree with that.
When the cheating came out. Now,
I agree with that.
Family sometimes can be a really bad thing. It can be a good thing in a lot of ways, but family can be a bad thing in a lot of ways too, because my family loved me so much that I allowed myself, as well as allowed them, to keep me in the state of mind of, they knew I was cheating. And they had more respect for me than they had for my wife. And ultimately, truthfully,
and more loyalty,
right? And
loyalty,
more
loyalty
definitely more loyalty,
totally.
because of the fact that they knew the things that I was doing, and they never said anything to my wife.
And helped you do them, like helped you in that space, like accepted.
Help me in the space. I wouldn't say help me.
Accepted you doing those things.
Right, they accepted it, because at the end of the day, was
but
done was on me. I'm never gonna put that on anyone else. I'm the one that made all the necessary mistakes and choices that I made. That's no one else's fault but mine. But yeah, they were bad, because again, there's so many times they could have protected you and stood up and say, yo, like, son, bro, what you doing?
Right.
Like, you got a wife at home, you know?
Yeah.
And I won't, and don't get me wrong, there were times, like, coming out of at the end, before I got busted, they were kind of like changing their tunes and stuff. But again, the reason they probably didn't have the loyalty or the respect, because they didn't think that my wife was the right person for me. You know, it took them a very long time to realize that. Now, there was one person who did know that from the jump, which is no longer here, which was my aunt. She always knew that. She always supported us. She saw a lot in you from day one, as well as she saw how I was changing even before she met you. So she knew. Yeah. And you always have that one family member, or friend who knows, their friend or family member knows that significant person that they're dating or looking, you know, if they see a certain spark or certain change in them in a good way, they definitely will, you know, push for them to be with that person and respect that person wishes and be loyal to what they want. So,
and you know what, something I think that sometimes loyal family members don't realize in the situation that we had, they were being loyal to you because, you know, you were their brother, you were their uncle, you were their son, and, you know, they were supportive of you, and they also had their own views of me. But when you are catering to that and accepting of someone's wrongdoings like that, they missed the mark where you were hurting yourself as well. So if they truly were loyal to you and respected you and loved you, they also should have seen that what you were doing was detrimental to you. And they didn't see that, you know. And so I think that's another piece of the pie that I think people miss a lot of the times, is when you're in something like that, you actually are hurting yourself first before you're hurting other people. And so people really need to see, am I being loyal or am I just standing by and letting him, you know,
and it caused a
rift.
It caused a big rift in the family. But what I do know, ultimately in the end, when everything came out, my sister, I love my sister. my sister showed a side of me that I like. It would shock me because I didn't think I knew my sister was sensitive. But when you told me how she cried and she apologized to you,
She did, yeah.
that was just a wow. It shocked me because I know how tough my family is.
Yeah. She was crying because of how she saw you at that time, what you were going through and the stress and all the stuff that you were going through. She was crying for you. She won't cry for me, but she was crying for you. But she was really apologetic when I brought up what I just said to her. And she saw it a different way. She was like, I'm really, really sorry.
I think ultimately with my sister and my nieces, they gain a different level of respect for you. And the reason they did is because when all of this came out and with all that I put you through, you still wanted to be with me. And they saw that in everything you did, your emotion, what they on the things they saw and they knew. I think ultimately that was the level for them to say, wow, this woman definitely should be with my brother or my uncle. Because she's, they realized that a lot of positions that I could have been in, it didn't happen. And certain things that should have happened didn't happen because ultimately I was with you. I would make the decision that, look, I got to go dip and me and my wife got to do such and such. Whereas before, it wouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
I would choose them no matter what.
Right.
So, but they saw that, and again, seeing you go through what you went through, that they had respect for you, but it was like a newfound respect. Is the respect? This is the respect that they should have had for you from day one.
From the beginning, yeah.
That they didn't.
I think that the respect that they had prior to all of that was a respect by association. With you.
Right.
It's like, I know my brother, I respect my brother, I respect my uncle, so I'm going to have a little bit of respect. Like, it kind of falls over onto her. But I did not have their respect individually, as my own person. And when we went through all of that, that's when they started to see me as an individual and give me that respect for me.
I also have something else I want to bring up. I think that is very important for the person who has the friends or the family members who doesn't respect the other, the person you're with. They need to say something. They need to check them and be like, look, at the end of the day, you might not like who I'm with.
Yeah.
You might not agree who I'm with.
Right.
But this is who I choose to be with. It's not about what you want.
Right.
It's not about what your choice is. If you love me, if you have respect for me, then you will respect my decision, regardless of whether we agree or not. This is what I want.
Right.
This is my decision.
Right.
So please show me that utmost respect and loyalty. And sometimes you get that. And in some cases, you lose friends and family members.
Yeah, you
do. Ultimately, if you end up in a very good relationship, you've weaned out the people who don't matter.
Right.
The people who are never going to uplift you the way that you need to.
Right.
And you don't need that in your life.
Right.
You need people, you need to surround yourself in a circle when you're in a relationship with other people who respect their significant others, who show loyalty. You need, that's the type of circle you need to have.
Right.
Anything else in that circle with what you're trying to do and how you're trying to build and how you're trying to grow is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Those negative people, those people who don't lift you up, and it ain't talking about lifting you up like buoying you up. No one needs that. But humbly lifting you up and encouraging you at the right moments and the right times, but also respecting you enough and having enough loyalty as a friend or a family member to say, look, you're wrong. And when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But hey, that's kudos to you. That's a good idea. I think you should go with that. This is where I see your head. Boom. That's that. And again, you can have family or friends and agree to disagree.
Right.
But as long as they have that respect for you, not even the loyalty, but the respect for you.
Right.
Then you can move forward.
Yeah. So we've talked about loyalty and respect. I want to just hint on integrity, which like you said earlier, is an individual trait that you bring to the relationship. Integrity, you have that regardless of who you're with.
Right.
It has nothing to do with any outside anything. It has everything to do with who you are as a person. And literally being a person of integrity is, like I said before, doing what's right even when no one is around, you might not get any accolades for it, nothing. You just still do what's right. And it's so funny that definition sticks with me so much that even when I'm at and I think I know who it was Joyce Meyer. She was giving a sermon, right, because I remember her giving this example where she said when you're at a store and they tell you to put the carts back, and the little shopping carts back in the little handle thing, little holders, cart things, cart return, sorry. And if you just leave it by your car or you leave it in the parking lot, right, that also is not doing the right thing. You're supposed to put it back. You're supposed to take it back. It can hit someone's car, this and that and the other. So that stuck in my head.
We're too
and
complacent.
So literally every single time that I want to just leave it, even though I don't go to the store no more because we get delivery. But when I was going to the store and I wanted to leave that shopping cart or not put the food back where it came from when you get up and realize you don't want it and just not stick it on another aisle, I remembered her saying that in that sermon, and I take it, I'm like, like when that's that whole, no one's watching, but God's watching. Mm-hmm. That he's the one person that is watching. And so it's like, I literally will sometimes be like, oh, Lord, I don't feel like taking this all the way back. But I will do it anyway, right, because I want to be a person of integrity. And I feel like if you know your spouse is a person of integrity, that right there gives you a trust that, like, literally is like a strong bond. Mm-hmm. Because if you're a person of integrity, then when you have respect and loyalty for that person that you're with, that trio right there, your trust in that relationship, you'll be able to know that in any given situation, they are going to do what is right. That they're going to take that pause and literally, you know how sometimes in a movie where you'll see the person and then it'll like pan off to like all the things that might happen if they do that, and they come back to the person in the moment and they go, okay, yeah, I ain't doing that. That's what you have when you have that trio. When you have integrity, respect, and loyalty for your partner, you are going to think, you're going to use your freaking brain and think about the things that, okay, this choice, what does this encompass? What are the consequences? And who am I going to affect? Who is this going to hurt? Who is this going to, mess up in our how can this mess up my relationship? And then step back and make a better choice. Right. That's how I look at integrity. What are your thoughts?
I think I pretty much am a person who's all about integrity now, more so than I used to be. Mm-hmm. From letting my friends know, I'm always talking about you first, putting you first in everything we do. Now being out here in AZ, before I came out here, I wasn't one of those guys who would be out in the desert and stuff like that, on the bikes and all this stuff, and camping and all that thing. Just, that ain't what I do as a black man. I don't do the camping and all that stuff. Hey, shoot, I mean, thank God I'm blessed that I know how to swim, because there's a lot of black people who don't swim.
I'm one of those black folks that don't
we're
know.
Gonna get you there, babe. Don't worry about that, because I'm definitely a fish in the water. But as a lot of times I just have to be that way. I have to show integrity, even down to like when we go camping and stuff. And I've had some friends be like, oh, bro, you go ahead and set your tent up and this and that and blah, 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 It ain't about that. We drove this long way. We ain't have no service. Now I got some service. My first point is that I need to call my wife, bro. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, I know your girl might be there with you, and you might be a certain way because that's just who you is. You wanted to hang out with all the boys and then want your girl around. Now, unlike me, my wife just don't do the camping.
I don't do camping, y'all.
So
period.
If she was there, then there wouldn't be no need for me to call.
Right.
But I don't have a problem telling my boys that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let them know off the hand. This is what it is, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. I think that's just a sign of showing a little bit of integrity.
Yeah.
But also too, like, there's a situation with me at work. I'm taking care of a vehicle, and next thing you know, I find exactly $229. Now, the old me would have pocketed that money. I ain't even front. Want nobody around, want nobody looking.
Nobody
in most
saw,
situations,
nobody knew.
right? Nothing. And I'm gonna be open and honest with you. That was my first initial thought. Keeping the money. I went as far as in I had another coworker who was, I wouldn't say he was my superior, but we were probably the same lines, but he was kind of running things that day. So he was the overseer. And he happened to be there when I found the money. And so I was like, ooh, this is a lot of money. He looked at me. I looked at him. He wasn't going to really say much to me. Like, if I wanted to keep it, I think he would have been cool with it and wouldn't have said nothing. But my brain was like, you know what? I'm going to be nice. I ain't going to keep this just right up. You know, I didn't have the integrity at first. This is where the integrity came later. But what I did was I ended up splitting the money with him because I was like, well, if I give him some and give me some, then he won't say nothing. Because then we both in the wrong.
Right.
I thought about that. It didn't take me much long right after I did that my conscience started like eating away. Eating away. And if you, like, for me, that was big.
Right.
Because normally I have a conscience, you know.
Everybody does.
Everybody has a conscience about certain things. But some things you just, you push it out like conscience.
Right.
I hear you, bro.
Right.
But I ain't feeling that right now because this right now is what I'm feeling. So I walked away from the vehicle, you know, pocketed the money, and I thought about it. I was like, nah, this don't feel right. So what I did at that moment is I went back to him. I questioned him first. I was like, yo, you think I should say something? He was like, well, that's up to you. You know, you ain't got to say nothing either way. I'm with you. I'm going. So basically what was happening was I'm seeing this scenario play in my head as I'm watching it live. Like, is he going to have my back and tell me to do the right thing? Or is he going to sit here and take the money and be loyal to me in the wrong way and say, you know, bro, I got your back.
Right.
But you ain't respecting me. That ain't being loyal to me. You think it is, but it's not. You only being loyal and respecting me at this moment because you getting broke off some of that cash.
Right.
You was getting a nice little sum up. We talk about $229. You know what I mean? But at that moment, my conscience started messing with me, and I was like, you know what, Lord, this is not right.
Yeah.
This is somebody's money. Yep. This ain't like $30.
Right.
This $229 to be exact.
Exactly.
Ain't no change.
Right.
Fresh, crisp bills, everything. I had to count that sucker, several times just to make sure that this was real.
Right.
Like, is this real? Like, I'm finding money? Like, I found a little change here and there. But
so what did you end up doing?
So at that moment, what I ended up doing was going back to my boy and was like, look, I don't feel right about this. So I made him go ask one of our bosses, you know, like if we found some money such and such, you know, whatever we should do. And the boss was like, well, you know, usually you would want to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and I just was like, and then I told him, I was like, no, don't say nothing to him. Like, he had already asked him, but I was like, don't tell him who. He was like, well, who found some money? And I was like, don't tell him who it is.
Yeah.
You know, and at that moment, I made a decision.
Yeah.
I could either stay with the money or not. So I went back to my boy that I gave some of the money to, and I was like, look, this don't feel right. I said, not to mention, I know what you want to do as far as your life. You want to become a cop. And what does that say about you if you want to become a cop?
Right.
And I know this is what you're building to do. I mean, you've gone the full, you just application, all that, you just waiting for them to call you up.
Right.
I thought about that. And this is where also too my brain woke up, because not only did I thought about I was not selfish when it came to myself. I was not selfish when it came to this person, because I thought about his well-being and how I triggered and made him do something that lapse of judgment based on my lapse of judgment that I pulled him into. Right. So I went and got the money from him. I went and got the money from him, got it back, and told him the reason why I took the money back, because it didn't feel right. But also, most importantly, is that what type of friend would I be if I allowed him to take part of this money knowing what he wants to do and what he wants to be.
So you returned it.
Right. So I got the money back from him. He was cool with it. He understood, and that's a friend. And I gave them I turned the money in, you know, and they were shocked.
And then you called me.
Yeah, I called you.
And was like, babe.
Yeah, like,
guess what I just did?
Yeah.
I know I'm changing.
Exactly.
And I was like, heck yes, because any other day Javon back in the day would have been like, heck no. And he
popped.
probably wouldn't even told me that he even had
Heck
it.
no, I would have came boy something like,
Exactly.
yeah.
He would have just been like, look what I got.
Like, I got
so
you
the
this
fact
bag.
that you did that and you called me and said, this is what I did. Like, can you believe? Like, you were so...
I was so happy about that.
You were happy, but you were so shocked that you actually did that because you knew there was no way in any type of way that you would have done that prior to all the changes that you have made. And I was just so proud of you that night. Like, you were talking about that jank for a good couple of days.
Yeah, that was
because
big
you
for
just
me.
could not believe that, one, you even felt that feeling to like, I shouldn't, because you were like, I never got that feeling before. Like, I've been, never got that feeling before when you would find stuff in vehicles. I mean, whatever.
Right.
But you got that feeling and you acted on it, went back to the guy, got the money back, and then returned it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So that is integrity.
Yeah.
That is integrity because, like I said, at the end of the day, no, nobody can be around you. No one would know, but God is watching you all the time.
That day, that says something really big in my boss's eyes, my higher boss, because if anyone know, they don't know, I can be very stubborn sometimes, and I can be very difficult. Let me put it that way.
Very.
And so even at my job, I can be very difficult. and the only reason I'm difficult is because 9 times out of 10, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm not just gonna let you come at me any type of way. Even in the corporate world, just because it's the corporate world, don't think that, hey, he just looked like this old ghetto kid. No, I'm very smart.
Yeah.
So I know about corporate rules. But anyway, after the incident had happened, we had a meeting about some situations. But I think that made him that gave him a whole newfound of respect for me. Because I did something that most of them employees would never do.
And then I even take it further sometimes when I'm going to sit, I've never been in that type of situation, but my brain works like that anyway. Right. And I think about, well, wonder if this person remembered that they left the money in the car, came back, asked for the money, and then the money's not there. Like, wonder if they really needed it for something, and now they're out. Like, that's how my brain works. I not only think about my situation, but I think about what could have been or what the other person might have felt, etc. But wrapping this all up.
All this to say, basically, what we're saying that in this whole pot, and I ain't mean to cut you off, babe, is that you need to have loyalty, respect, and integrity in any type of relationship. Whether you're married, whether you're girlfriend and boyfriends, whatever you want to call yourself,
whatever
brother and sister,
friends,
whatever type of
it
relationship.
Is,
that's very important to have those 3 elements.
Of course, I think they are elevated when you're in a committed relationship with someone. And, and they're a little bit different. But yes, there are 3 things that you need to have in every relationship. And we are going to just give you a couple of ideas to wrap everything up. And we got 5 different points that we want to kind of touch on, just reading them off. And I think these 5 things you can do to help ensure that you do have loyalty, respect, and of course integrity in yourself, but in your marriage and your relationship. So the first one is, and you said this earlier, treat people the way you want to be treated. Would you want to be married to yourself? So like when you're in a situation and something's happening, something's going on, think to yourself before you do stuff, would I want this done to me? Would I want to be married to me when I'm doing something like this? Like, give that person that respect. That right there is respecting the person that you're with, to take a step back.
And men, hey, look, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes we don't slow our minds down to really stop and process something before we do it. We just go ahead and jump into it because we think it's the right thing, or we feel that it's good, or we excited about it. But
for you,
but that doesn't necessarily mean that, because you need to, if you slow down and you stop and think about what you're doing before you're doing it, you're also going to always think about the consequences and what's going to happen when you come out of it. So think about both of those things. And ultimately, if the consequences are not what you really want to deal with in any type of way, then don't do it.
And that's our second point. So thank you for segueing into that.
Right,
right. Like, before you act on those thoughts or that situation, take that pause. Like, press pause and be like, okay, wait a minute. If I do this, what are the things that can happen from this?
Right.
And where can I go down roads I might not want to go down? And how is this going to affect me and the people that matter most to me?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of us don't go that far to do that.
No.
You know, I think now that we've gone through all that we've gone through, it's easier for us to think like that. But people just, you know, that haven't gone through things of our magnitude, it's easy to get lost in the moment.
It is.
And I think it's very hard sometimes to stop and take a pause and be like, wait a minute. And we could be talking about anything. We could even be talking about just splurging on something.
True.
And you might not know what your partner has planned for that $300 whatever you're about to get. You know what I mean? So take a pause and really think about it and then move forward. And if you have to call your spouse and be like, hey, are we doing something with it? You know, do that.
Right.
You know, respect them enough to do that. But
check up with them.
Check up, take that pause. So, third thing, babe, you want to give that off?
This is very, very important for men. This is what I keep saying, men. It's just not
everybody.
Everybody. And I'm not trying to. I guess I'm coming at men because I'm feeling some type of way, man.
Right.
That's just what it is. We need to be better. So I'm not trying to be personal with us, but we need to be better.
Yeah.
But anyway, we need to make sure that we think about the other person's feelings and how at that moment, whatever it is that you're doing, it could change forever the dynamic of your relationship.
Yep.
It can go one way, it can go another way, it can also go a third way.
Yeah.
But the choice is yours in choosing which way it goes.
And remember, women remember
everything.
So, you know, when you're doing something and something possibly happens in a negative light, she's not going to forget that.
Nope.
You know what I mean? And that's going to be, even if she doesn't talk about it, it's still going to be in her mind where she can tap back into that. And nobody wants to have that. She don't want to do it, and you don't want her to do it. So, or vice versa, if you're a man like that.
Yeah.
You just don't want to have that. So think about your spouse's feelings in that moment and
Definitely
give that respect to them of how whatever you're doing might change the dynamic of your relationship.
And don't think that respecting them is going out to get them some flowers or something, some jewelry or something with money that you feel is supposed to just like
fix everything.
No. I mean, women don't operate like that. Now, some women do. It's okay far as, okay, I got that.
Sometimes that's okay.
But when you're wrong, you're wrong. They ain't got nothing to do with no flowers or no candy or going to get no expensive gift or this and that. You need to talk it through.
And sometimes doing that makes the problem worse. Because she's like, I know you ain't trying to buy me off with no flowers and no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
And then for the fourth thing, if you have kids.
Very important.
When we're talking about that pause that you need to take, when we're talking about thinking about other people's feelings, a lot of the times we do not take in consideration our children.
Right.
Our children are watching every single move we make. And we know this firsthand because our child is a three-nager, about to be 3. We call her a three-nager because of her attitude. But she is a sponge and she watches everything. She listens to everything we say. Things that we don't even think she heard us say or picked up on. My girl has got it.
Yep.
And so think about your children and what you're teaching them, what you're showing them. And that old adage of, you know, do as I say, not as I do, that don't mean jack, you know what, with children. They see you doing it and they're going to do it. They emulate who they are around and they are going to do it. Yep. So remember your children in everything as well.
And not only that, like make sure you remember your children, you know, you remember your children as far as respecting them, because everything you do and they see, like she said, my wife said that they pick it up like a sponge, but ultimately this also is a deciding factor as far as their future.
Right.
How they
Yes.
operate, how they
Right.
treat the person that they
Right.
choose to be
Right.
with, based on what they see growing up in
Right.
the relationship in their household or who they're around.
Correct.
That's how they're going to be.
Right.
So you need to also take in perspective that the things that you do are ultimately going to rub off on this kid
And affect their future.
So
Yeah.
you have to think about that and put that first. No matter
Yep.
what, you have to.
And it could affect them in a sense that they're like, I don't want to ever be like my mom and dad,
Right.
so I'm going to do it the opposite way.
Right.
Or they can be just subconsciously, that's what they saw and that's what they do.
Right.
So we need to look at that and take that in consideration, most definitely. And the last thing,
One of the I think it's probably the realest thing I can say is be real.
yes.
Be real, even in bad situations, even in when they hurt. Regardless, just make sure that you are real. Come to the conversation with integrity, respect, loyalty. Show them true love.
Yep.
Show them that you have their best interests.
Yes.
And put them first ahead of yourself, depending on what the situation is.
Yep.
Or better yet, put both of you ahead of what you need to move forward, to make things, to heal, and to make things better.
Yep.
Ultimately. And again, it's okay to agree to disagree, but do it in a very respectful way.
Yes.
Not disrespectful or lashing out or being nasty. And if you can do those things, you'll be fine.
Yes. And your love will grow. Like, even in bad situations, I think a lot of times people don't want to go to the other person because they don't want to, quote unquote, hurt them.
Right.
You're going to hurt them regardless.
Right.
You're going to hurt them when you go to them with whatever the situation is that might not be the best situation. And you're going to hurt them, but I think you actually hurt them more when you just keep up a facade or you're lying to them and then they find out later or you come to them later after things are worse. You hurt them more.
Right.
So, like you said, go to them with integrity. Go to them respecting their feelings and being loyal to your relationship and who they are.
Right.
And, be real.
Exactly.
Be real. Be transparent.
Be real in everything that you do.
Be real and transparent in everything that you do. And I think that that's what brings you closer, even in trials. It will bring you closer because you are being completely vulnerable, transparent. But ultimately, it gives you that sense of, just that safe space that with whatever it is, your partner's got you.
And I wanted to say something. I said something in the last podcast, I believe, or the one before that, when I said that marriage is work. It's not work. It's work in the sense of the commitment. You have to be committed to it every day. And it's not, I don't want it to be like a bad thing, because work is not, work can be good or bad, however you make it. And I think I kind of said that, but I want to reiterate again, marriage is a commitment, but it's a beautiful commitment.
Yes, it is.
If you're both on the same level far as how you respect each other, the loyalty and everything else that comes into the relationship, the communication, the integrity, especially integrity when you're not around.
Right.
But just knowing what's right and respecting one another and just having that person's best interests. Again, do unto the others as you would have them do unto you.
And then when in certain situations, call for, do what they need for you to do. Sometimes you got to go over and beyond that, because sometimes your partner needs something that you necessarily don't want or need, but they need that from you. Go over and beyond and give them what they need.
Exactly.
And I think that, with that, you are building the very best foundation for a intimate relationship with your partner, with your spouse. And it's one in which will be able to stand the test of time. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts. This is what we always say, we're not experts, but I will say that we have been through some stuff.
We have.
And
but
we have had to learn on our own
right.
with therapy and healing. And we are at a very thriving place in our marriage. And we have a ton of experiences, rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts that we want to share with you guys. So we hope that, you have gathered and received these nuggets and can use them in your own relationships.
Exactly.
With that being said, thank you for joining us on this podcast episode talking about loyalty, respect, and integrity.
I know we normally, I'm normally a little hyped up, but this was just something that I just had to, just having this conversation about loyalty, respect, and integrity just kind of, it has me a little bit more grounded, where normally I'm hyped up. But this one, I just had to be a little bit more calm and serious about, because to me, it's very important.
Very important.
Very, very important.
And with that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day or night, whatever it is when you're listening to this.
Yep.
And we will see you on the next go round of the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
That's right.
See you guys.
See ya.
No need to contemplate. It slips right off my tongue. You the one, yeah. Our love, it gleams like diamonds. They see us shining. Hashtag couple goals. Catch us on the gram. We hopping islands. Don't care what the rest say. They don't know how you loving me. They don't know how I love so deep. With this energy, with this chemistry.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us and allowing us to share our thoughts with you. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found value in the topic, so you can take some nuggets of wisdom into your own life and show up a little more and allow God the opportunity to show out for you.
Yes. And if you like what you heard, please click that subscribe button so you'll be notified of future episodes. And we invite you to leave a review if our podcast resonated with you. Let us know that you too are ready to show up in your life. Thanks, and until next time, we out.
Peace out.